Welcome to Startup Grind. Who has never been here before? Woo. Awesome. Who's been here more than one time? More than 3 times? Cool. All right, so this is powered by Google for Entrepreneurs. It happens in over 200 cities around the world. Basically, every month we have a local influencer or entrepreneur share their story in a casual fireside chat. And then at the end, we have time for Q&A. So think about what you want to ask. If you have something that you hear that you like, which you definitely will, feel free to tweet it and use hashtag FullSteamAR, which is the conductor's hashtag, and our Twitter handle is at AR_conductor. So please be social, and I want to go ahead and thank everyone here tonight, especially Gina. So Gina Radke is our featured speaker. Super glad to have her here tonight, but we need to thank the conductor's staff who makes this happen. Conductor, can you guys raise your hands? This is totally a team effort, so thank you guys so much for making it happen. Yes. Also UCA, so this is the UCA Makerspace, and we can kind of talk about that at the end if you guys have any questions about it, but this is opening in September. So thanks to UCA, thank you to Startup Junkie Consulting for making this happen as well, and our partners at Tacos for Life. So we're gonna go ahead and get started. And I'm gonna tell you a little bit about Gina before we start. So Gina is the CEO of Galley Support Innovations, an international trade advisor to Congress. She serves on the Governor's Career Education and Workforce Development Board. And she's the winner of the 2016 SBA Person of the Year, like the national award, and the Small Manufacturer Export of the Year in 2015. So I just want to go ahead and give you a little stage there to start on. And by the way, I had 4 pages of questions when I was writing this, and I was like, we're not going to get to all these. But Gina is super, no, you don't have to do that, but super inspiring. I'm so glad for you guys to hear her story tonight, and we're going to go ahead and get it started. Can you just tell us about yourself?
Sure. Am I good, mic'd? Everybody's happy? Okay. Well, I am actually from Little Rock, Arkansas, and so I've been married for 19 years, and I know that's hard to believe because I'm so young, but actually I aged myself. How many of you guys have seen the movie Short Circuit, or Short Circuit 2, right? Okay, a couple of you guys. So you know where Johnny Five becomes a gang member to the East LA, I can't remember, but they're like, Vatos for life. Yeah. I said, I can't say tacos without going tacos for life. See, he gets me. And I'm telling Kim this, and she's like, I don't know what you're talking about. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so old. So, but I am 39. I'll go ahead and throw it out there. I have 3 sons. So my husband and I adopt, and we have a child that we adore who was not an accident. He's here tonight. He was a surprise. No, you guys are like, that is way TMI. I'm very open about everything. So we started, do you just want me to go into my business or just personal?
Well, yeah.
Okay. So how about I'll do this. I was raised by a single mother. She worked for the state for 28 years. She worked in the Department of Corrections as a drug and rehab counselor. So I was raised very much being aware of the privilege that I had because of my skin color, because of my economic background, because of the fact that I didn't have people selling crack at my front door. And so I'm very, very grateful for that. My dad was very active in my life as well. He's an old hippie. We call him Dude. I'm very social, so if you ever go to my Facebook page, feel free to troll because it's hilarious. You'll go down, you'll see my dad. He's got the big beard, and it's like pink, red, and blue, and his wife. So I was raised by this just super sort of caring and I guess you would say, liberal family that really wanted me to know who I was in the world. My mom was very determined to raise a very confident young woman, and I was very blessed with that. And then on the other hand, I had a grandmother who was very, very active in my life, and she wanted me to be raised to be a Southern Belle. And her and my grandfather, they sent me to charm school when I was I'm pretty sure it was a preschool. Very, very young. My grandfather and her taught me how to play golf and tennis, because one day I may marry a businessman who played golf and tennis, and they may need a fourth or on a pair or on the golf course, and I should at least know how to play when I'm there with my husband and the people that he's working with. Taught me to eat sushi at a very young age because my grandfather was determined I would work with or be married to a man who worked with the Japanese. Learned about Kaizen at a very young age. Just interesting stuff. And the whole purpose, their purpose, was so I would know, I would be able to have an intelligent conversation if I was needed to attend a business meeting with my husband. And so it's very interesting. But I very, very blessed the way that I was raised. And graduated high school. I went to Mills University High School in Little Rock. Does anybody know in here? No. So a couple, yeah. So that gives me street cred to some crowds. If you don't know it, it doesn't. But great school, very diverse. I very much enjoyed it. And then I got married a year. I was supposed to go to New York and go to Hofstra University. I wanted to be a news anchor, and did not end up doing that. Ended up meeting the man of my dreams and got married to a young man who was very good looking and still is, I think. I think he looks like the most interesting man in the world. I have a little bit of a crush on that guy, so it turned out nicely that my husband kind of has aged well. And since then we've had 3 kids. We've been in business together for 12 years. So.
Perfect. Can you talk a little bit about your career trajectory after high school?
Yeah. My first job after high school was I was the B for B98.5. I wanted to be a radio DJ. I either wanted to be a news anchor or a radio DJ. So I went to Craig O'Neill. You guys know who Craig O'Neill is? So I went to Craig O'Neill and I said, hey, I want to be a DJ. What do I need to do? And he was like, well, we're hiring for a B. You want to come be our mascot? And I was like, yep, I'll be there. Haha, I'll be there. Get it? No, okay. I think I'm hilarious. If you don't, that's fine. But so that was, I swear it was the best job I ever had. I only had to be in the bee suit for 15 minutes out of every hour because it was so hot, but I got paid $15 an hour. So, I mean, it was just an amazing job. But from there, I actually became a radio DJ, and I wanted to be the promotions director, and we had our promotions director leave. So I just went to the owner of the, or the general manager of the radio station at that time and said, hey, I'll be the promotions director, which I'm sure at that time was probably, $35,000 to $40,000 a year. And I said, I will do it for what I'm making now, which as a DJ was minimum wage. And he was like, that's a great idea, And so I did that for about 6 months, and I was like, hey, now I need a raise. And he was like, okay. So I did that for a while, and I really enjoyed it. And then actually I got into some multi-level marketing. I did Amway. I started my own business for promotions. I worked with some local politicians, and I did fundraising. I did both fundraising for nonprofits and for political people, and enjoyed that. And then my husband was in the Air Force at the time. We moved to Destin, Florida, which was awesome. And I became the director of the American Heart Association for Okaloosa and Walton counties. So, and then I got fired, and that really was horrible. I was pregnant, I was bossy, and I got fired. And had my son, moved back to Arkansas, worked for the Alzheimer's Association, and got fired again. I was the assistant regional director, and I got fired. I was bossy, and on this one woman, she said, I don't think you can work for anyone else. Like, I think you're gonna have to work for yourself. And I remember being like, just let me prove to you that I can work for someone else. And she was like, yeah, that's not gonna work for us, so here's your last paycheck, and thank you. And so the same day that I got fired, my husband's like, I want to buy this business. And I'm like, I don't think that's a good idea. And she's like, you're fired? I'm like, so we're in business together. Let's do this. So that was before, right up to when it started.
Perfect. So can you talk a little bit about from that point to becoming the CEO?
Mm-hmm. So for 2 years, I basically was marketing. I mean, I answered the phones. Let's be honest, it was 4 of us. We had just bought a manufacturing company. We moved it from California to Arkansas. And what we do, just in case you don't know, we manufacture interior hardware for aircraft. So if you've ever been to the bathroom on a 747, we make the occupied vacant latches. We also make retainers, and we make stuff for Gulfstream, the 650, but nobody ever knows that. But if you tell them that you make the occupied vacant latch on a bathroom, they're like, oh, yeah. So I know I'll probably get some messages from you guys that'll say, hey, I was going to the bathroom on a plane and I thought of you. And I'm like, yeah, we're gonna start making like overhead bins or something. So we moved the company. It actually is an amazing story. It's my husband's story, and so I won't steal too much of it, but it was his grandfather's company. However, my husband did not know his grandfather, didn't meet his father till he was 30. And so we got out of the military. We had sold our property in Florida at the peak of the market. We kind of had this, very lucky, we had this batch of money, and we were like, well, what are we gonna do? When we wanted to go in business for ourselves. So we looked at a Papa John's pizza, we looked at a tropical smoothie, a gym, and we ended up buying the manufacturing company. And we literally moved it from California to Arkansas in the back of a 1998 Dodge Ram. It took multiple trips, and we got it here, and then we began to teach ourselves. I mean, we had a huge, it was $83,000 CNC machine. That was more than my first house. And we had no idea. My husband YouTubed, learned how to operate it. We went to some classes. I spent a lot of time. Google was not as big as it is now. Google is my favorite business tool at this point in my life. But I spent a lot of time learning how to run manufacturing software, which I had never had any experience in. So you have to picture, we had a 13,000 square foot facility, one giant machine in the middle, and then one computer and me, like just watching videos from the manufacturer, you know, trying to figure it out. And then on the other side is my husband watching videos, trying to figure, you know, stuff out. And that's what we did. And we started calling on customers and just saying, hey, you know, what can we do? And we were, when we took over the company, it had not been ran the way that we run it now. And so there were purchase orders that were 6 months past due, and we would say, hey, do you still want this? And they go, yes. And we go, great, we made a sale. And so we would, you know, manufacture and send to them. So we did that for about 2 years, and we slowly grew. And then 2007, 8, 9 hit. And so in about 2008, we made $10,000, and it cost $30,000 a month to keep the doors open and pay, you know, everybody and for the machines. And so my husband and I said, okay, somebody's got to go to work. Because at that point there were 4 of us, and we had 2 people that worked for us that were ex-felons. They had been in prison and were no longer in prison and no longer committing felonies, so they worked for us. And we said, whoever gets a job first will go to work somewhere else, because they're not going to be able to go to work. So my husband did probably one of the most selfless things I've ever seen. He took a job, as opposed to firing the people that worked for us, he took a job somewhere else. And it was in the aerospace industry. So he worked, and that's when it was kind of like, hey, here's the key. So not only are you going to be the janitor, the marketing secretary, you're going to be the CEO, and you're going to run the company as well. And so I started studying like nobody's business. I called every free service that you could possibly think of. Arkansas Manufacturing Solutions were so sick of me. Literally one time I called and I could hear someone in the background when they said my name, they said, tell her we don't have any money for her. And I'm like, that's not why I'm calling, but if you do, I will take it. What kind of grants do you have available? And it was funny because during that period, I kind of became the queen of, grant finding, and I would go and find grants for myself and for our business, and then I started helping others find grants, and they would say, oh, we're struggling with this, and I said, well, have you heard of the T-Tag grant, or have you heard of the exporting grant, and to just kind of help others who've been, where we had been. So we did that for a couple of years. My husband worked elsewhere, came home at night, and he would design. And just to give you a little bit of background, you've got to picture me, and this is, obviously 10 years ago, so I'm younger, and I'm still spunky, but I am talking to these 2 guys who are both ex-felons. I mean, we're prison tatted, both Native American guys, and I'm telling them, hey, you need to run this machine this way, because that's what I learned. Okay, they've been doing it since they were like 13 years old. And I remember one time this guy said that he's like, we're never going to make this date. And I said, if we don't make the date, we might as well shut the door and just shut everything down. And he stood up to me. He was sitting, and he just stood up, and I was just like, he's never done that before. And he was just like, then I guess we're going to have to shut everything down. And I was like, oh, okay. So he's the only one that knows how to run that machine. And luckily we talked and we worked through it, and ended up having a great relationship. But it was just, I had no choice but to have tenacity and try to go, all right, I'm going to figure this out, and let's see what we can do.
So how did you guys grow from that point to where it is now?
We hit the ground running like you would never believe. Again, the state of Arkansas, huge, they have a lot to do with our success story. They went to the NBAA, which is the National Business Association annual meeting, we'll say. And so they took us, it's a trade show. And we went and we met customers that we had never even imagined. Did I sell the fire alarm?
So at this meeting, we just went, we were on the floor and we're like, hey, do you happen to buy latches for your plane? We've got some. I mean, and I felt like the person that's like, I got latches, you got latches, I got latches, you know? And we went all over the world. There's another movie, I guess I talk in movie quotes, but there's another movie and I think it's called Tommy Boy. You guys know Tommy Boy? So he's selling brake pads for his dad, right? He's going all over the country. That was us. One of my favorite stories about hitting the ground is we went to visit Boeing. And so we waited, it was spring break, we had someone come in, they stayed with their family. We drove to Dallas because, you know, it was cheaper to fly to Dallas. So we drove to Dallas, got on a flight, went to Seattle, show up at the, we literally rented an egg because it was the cheapest thing that you could rent. I don't even think it had like a name on the back. They were like, we don't even want anybody to know who we are. And it was just this yellow egg car. And then we show up at the hotel and the guy says, do you want it by the hour or the whole night? And I was like, oh. And my husband was like, where did you find this hotel? And I'm like, listen, I went to Expedia and then sort by cheapest. And it was the cheapest, so that's where we went. And we went to, tried to get a hold of our purchasing agent from Boeing, and I told her, we're gonna be there, and she was like, maybe I'll see you. I sat for 4 hours in the lobby, and she knew I was there, because I told everybody, told the lady, they said, she's aware you're here. Everyone that walked through the door, her name was Bonnie, and I was like, Bonnie? 4 hours, and we finally went home, and we never got to see her. And afterwards, I sent her flowers and said, I'm so sorry that we missed you. And then she connected with us after that. It was just that kind of like going that extra mile and really doing things that were different as well. When another favorite story is when we got our Gulfstream, the opportunity to go in and pitch to Gulfstream. They called on Monday, the Monday before Thanksgiving, and said, can you be here on Wednesday? And I'm like, I was like, it's Thanksgiving week. One, that is extremely expensive to fly. And two, I always take off the Wednesday before Thanksgiving and cook. And I was like, can we do it like the following Monday? And she was like, no, this is Gulfstream. And I'm like, okay, so we'll be there Wednesday. So we borrowed money from my dad. We borrowed $632 from my dad, and we got lucked out. We got a 2 flights, a hotel room, and a car. And we drive there, and we have a laptop that my husband had literally had, like, it's funny to say since the war, but literally he had this laptop since the war. There was still sand in it from when he'd been in the desert with this laptop. And we had, like, I had passed out napkins and pens, and I said, you know what I've learned is that engineers come up with the best ideas when they're just drawn, Like, I can't tell you how many times we've gotten something drawn on a napkin, and they're like, I want to do something like this. So I passed out these napkins, and I passed out pins with our names on them, and then I passed out chocolate-covered popcorn balls. It has nothing to do with anything in the industry, but they were cheap, and they were different, and I said, here's the deal. I said, this is something different, because you guys are something different. You need something, you don't need the same old thing that you've always had. You need something different, and that's what we present. And so, he draws something. What do you want on the napkins? You draw whatever you want, and we'll make it. Because all of our competitors were like, these are the 5 latches we have, and you choose from these. They loved it. And to this day, I think some of them still think I'm a marketing genius. In fact, nope, we were cheap and broke. And so that was, that's what we did. And just anything that we could to get our foot in the door.
So we talked about previously sort of you say yes, and then, or someone's like, give you this yep, and then you figure it out later.
Yeah.
And also sort of the idea of like usually making, talk about like setting unrealistic expectations for yourself, and then cultivating unrealistic yeah.
Oh,
and then finding a way to make it happen.
Well, I would say that was our first large contract. We did that. They were like, can you do this? And we're like, sure we can. It was very, very much a David and Goliath story. Like, we had never gone for a contract like this. I mean, it was for the complete interior of an aircraft. And we were like, we can do that. And then they start giving us all these papers and contracts, and they're like, we want your financials, because, we're a small company, and they want to make sure, I'm in the business to business, it's not retail where you sell something and it may be $30, I'm going and trust your $65 million plane to me, I can make this happen. And so they're like, we want your financials, we want to make sure that, you've got the money in the bank, and you're not going to go broke and go out of business. And I'm filling out financial form, I'm like Googling, and I'm filling out a financial form, and I would do a contract, and they would say, well, we want this, and I'd say, hold on, I have to give it my legal team, and I'll get back with you. And I'd Google, and then I'd be like, all right, Google legal doc says this. Okay. And I would write it down, and I mean, I cannot, I'm telling you, Google was my best friend. And so I actually now do have a legal team, but back then it was Gina, Radke, and Google. I mean, we were like this. That was my legal team, and so that's what I did. We said yes, we can do it, and then we figured it out, and we worked like you wouldn't believe, you know. And I do have children that spent many nights there. We have a large grassy area next to our building, and so I would bring the kids up and we'd have picnics, you know, and so we could see Daddy at night, or you know, and because I could, you know, take my work and do a lot from home, and Wade had to work there, and so they grew up in the business, and now we have had some level of success, and we've remodeled, and things are very nice, and they'll say things like, "You're ruining our childhood with this ceiling. Who needs a ceiling?" You know, and this bathroom that works. What's that? You know, and so you know, so we've upgraded. But they were there when it was indoor outdoor parking, and we literally had no ceiling.
So, and on that note, talk a little bit about how you balance everything with work and family. And I've asked this before, and she was like, I don't think work-life balance is really a thing anymore.
Yeah.
Talk about how do you manage it all?
You know, I think people, they really get this work-life balance. You know, I just don't know if it doesn't work for me that way. What I tell my kids is I work really hard at this point in time between the time I drop them off to school and the time I pick them up, so I don't have to go home and work. And there are some nights that I do that. And I almost feel bad sometimes. They'll come into my office and I'm like, no, I can't talk to you right now. Now my children are two 19-year-olds and a 13-year-old, so it's not like I'm shunning my 3-year-old. But they'll come in and I'm like, I can't talk to you. Let me finish this, and then, you know, I'll sit and listen and let's talk. I love to pick my son up from school because that's when he tells me all the dirt, you know. And so I have that if I work really hard between this time, then I can focus on them during this time. And for me, it's about prioritizing your time. Just recently, I've hired a trainer who's training me in the gym, and he said something that I found very offensive. He said, we're talking about what I eat. He said, I need you to so I'm trying to figure out how to get you to take responsibility for what you eat. And I was like, excuse me? Like I said, I ate the ice cream. I took responsibility for it. I take responsibility. And he's like, you know, no, for your nutrition, like before you eat the ice cream. And so I was like, a little different. So and it's funny because that's how I do my time. You know, I really prioritize my time. You know, they always say, like, Bill Gates has the same 24 hours a day that you do. Beyonce has the same 24 hours that you do. And so I prioritize my time. The toughest things, the task-oriented, I get those done first. Then I check email. Then I answer voicemails. And then I realize that I have a pile on my desk that it's not that I didn't have time for it. I just didn't really want to do it. And so when you begin to prioritize your time, I mean, very intentionally, be a good steward of your time, you really begin to realize what all can be done in, you know, a short period of time. So I really try to prioritize my time. Our kids are really, we don't take vacations unless they're business trips. I mean, we're like, hey, we're going to, you know, luckily every other year we have a trade show in Orlando. Our kids go to Disney World and they go to, you know, Universal Studios. And my husband and I, we try to go somewhere every year on our anniversary. And my 13-year-old actually said, I said, we're going to go on a cruise this year. And he said, wait a minute, is that a real vacation? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like one that's not business? And I'm like, well, we are going to do business before and after, you know, at the location of the port. But yeah, you know, that's what we're doing. But they, when I'm with them, I try to be with them. You know, I made the mistake at one point of saying, oh, I want to get a iPhone. When I think my son was maybe in second grade, so I could go on field trips with him. And then I would go on field trips and stand in the back like this and answer emails. And I was like, you know, that's not prioritizing my time. That's, you know, using his time, it's bleeding over. So I just really prioritizing my time. And since my 13-year-old is here, if I'm lying, he will correct me at the end. So just see him and he'll be like, oh, no, that's not really what happens.
Talk a little bit about your team at GSI and sort of hiring and working with others who are in marginalized spaces.
Yeah. We have an amazing team at GSI, and it's an interesting mix because we have a group we have ex-felons, we have kids that have aged out of foster care. We're very active in working with Department of Workforce Services. They have a youth summer program that intentionally goes and gets kids who have dropped out of school or, you know, are at-risk youth. And then we also have this amazing group of people who were super high achievers,
whether in the corporate world or in school, and many of them, we've actually had several who've left good, I mean, just amazingly good paying corporate jobs and have left to come work with us because they like, you know, the industry, but they also like the mission. And the mission is to help these people. I really believe that a job can change a life. And it can, and not just a job, a career. And so it can make a huge difference, not only in one person's life, but in their kids' lives and their children. I mean, it can change a whole generation. You know, you give someone the opportunity to work as opposed to, you know, selling drugs or going back to a life of crime. We do hire ex-felons, and it's not like, oh, we hire ex-felons, you can do these jobs. No, we hire ex-felons, period. If they're the best, then they may be sitting on our executive leadership team. I once told a guy, he was having a hard time finding a salesman. I said, what you need to do is go find you an ex-drug dealer. And he was just like, and I said, no, I'm serious. Like, I'm telling you, if they can slang crack, then they can slang some parts. I said, they've already got the hustle down. You know, they just need to that's going to be my Twitter quote, right? They can slang crack. They can, they've already got the hustle down. You know, just give them the opportunity. They may have never had that opportunity. And so we don't discriminate at all. And we bring in whoever, and if you're good, and if you're not, you know, you won't stay. We do very much say, hey, this is a community, and if you are wasting your time, then that's dollars that's coming out of this person's pocket. So everyone kind of checks themselves, you know, and the truth is hiring people who have had addiction issues in the past, they can come to us and go, you know what, you hired this person and they may have passed this drug test or whatever, but they're either using or they're about to use. And a true statement, that was on a Monday. On Friday, that person didn't show up for work. They had stolen their sister's car and they had just like disappeared off the face of the earth and gone on a drug binge. And our person told us, they said, I'm telling you, I've been in their shoes and this is what's about to happen. So it allows us, one, to kind of come in and we're very into our employees' lives. We actually, in the executive suite, we call it, we have all glass doors. And we each have a window and you can see in, you can see out. And that, we said that's, you know, for transparency. But also, you know, we want you to come in and say, hey, this is what's going on in my life, you know. One of the benefits we offer that's kind of unusual is we pay for 6 hours of counseling every year. So it's paid time off, and we actually pay for the counseling. Because we believe in the whole person, and they spend 40 hours a week with us, if not more. And so we want them to have a good work environment. You know, we want them to be happy. If they're happy at work, they'll leave and they'll go home and be happy with their family. So I know you didn't ask for all that, I know you said who we hired, but you know, that's why we hired these people.
Can you also talk a little bit about hiring females in manufacturing and why that's important to you?
Well, obviously it's important to me because I'm one of the few females in manufacturing. I work with my husband, which is wonderful, except for the times when, you know, we butt heads. We're both very type A. And so people often will say, oh, do you do your husband's books? And that is the most infuriating thing because I'm like, we would all be in jail. It'd be an accident, but we would all be in jail. Or, you know, we would be in jail and they'd be working at McDonald's, I don't know. And so hiring, you know, it's underserved. There's not enough females in manufacturing. There's not enough African Americans in manufacturing. There's not enough African Americans in engineering. We've been in business for 12 years, and not one time have we had an African American apply for an engineering position. Only one time have we ever had a female apply. And so I just believe that bringing that diversity in and bringing different people, it's really important. And so I didn't have anyone, like you asked the question last week, you know, name a female that, you know, you has been empowering to you or mentored you in business, and I really had to think about it. And even a week later, I could think of some amazing people in, even maybe in politics or in, you know, the social activism side, but not in industry. And so it's important to me to hire them because the next generation needs to see that. You know, we participate in Girls in STEM. Matter of fact, my Facebook page right now is me and the women in my manufacturing company who, you know, we've all got our Rosie Riveter outfits on and we're posing. And we did a little calendar. One of the first times I'd ever gone into what the guys say a real machine shop. I walk in and this guy is there and there's just posters of women in swimsuits and I kind of looked above this guy's head and there's a calendar with a naked woman on it and the guy, he realized it and he starts like backing up to it. So he's trying to cover it. So I see this man and directly above him is like 34 Ds or something, I don't know. And I'm just like, that made it extremely awkward. And so we made a calendar of our women, you know, who actually work on the floor in manufacturing because we want them to see that. You know, it's not a dirty job, it's not a bad job, it's not an uneducated job at all. And we want them to see that there's value in them being in there and there's value in what they do.
What has that been like for you, like totally trailblazing the industry basically, and as a female?
It's been tough. There's been times. I don't think that people realize kind of the unintentional bias that people have towards women in manufacturing. I think that they either think, oh, that I'm supposed to be, you know, show up in some Dickies and, you know, be like, yeah, what's up, dude? You know, or that, you know, that I'm just there because my husband, you know, was his grandfather's son. So there's a lot of just unintentional, you know, the question of, do you really work for your husband or is this for tax purposes? I get that one a lot too. I will tell you there is no tax benefit to being a woman. We don't do government contracting, so that doesn't help us there either. And my husband is a Native American veteran, so as I had one friend say, he's always got a one up you, doesn't he? And I'm like, right, you know? So there's just that kind of, just that bias, like they'll walk in and used to my office when there was only 4 of us, my office was on the ground. You open the door and there I was. And I literally one time had a guy come in and walk right past me onto the manufacturing floor. And I was just like, what just happened? And 2 minutes later, he walks right out. He's like, so your husband says you're the one that has the checkbook. And I'm like, yeah, but it's not going to be. And so, you know, it's been tough. But I've also had some great men who have come behind me and before me and have supported me. We often joke about my husband having bloody shoulders from my 4-inch heel standing on me. And so he has supported me 100%. And when someone comes and says, oh, you know, we were at a business event, and the guy's job was to find female and minority small businesses. So he walks up to my husband and I were talking to another couple, and she happens to be in manufacturing as well. Wonderful, wonderful woman. And the guy looks at him and goes, oh, let me guess, women-owned business. And my husband was like, yeah. And so he starts talking to my husband, and my husband's like, no, literally, you need to talk to her. And her husband's like in the Air Force, like he doesn't even work in the business with him. And so he saw that, you know, and I think opening people's eyes to that, like we talk about mansplaining, you know, just kind of opening your eyes to things that happen, you begin to recognize it. You know? And so I'm very, very grateful for the men in my life who have recognized, hey, this is going to be a little tougher for you, you know, but have still encouraged me to continue.
Can you talk about your approach to leadership and what kinds of things do you think are important as a leader?
Probably one of the most important things I think as a leader is to empower others. And I get in trouble for that because sometimes I'm like, hey, you do it and you tell me how that works out. You know, as long as it's good, we don't get arrested, I'm good. And sometimes people are like, can I get a little more direction than that? But I really think empowering others, one of my favorite quotes is, hire people who are smarter than you and be wise enough to let them do their jobs. I cannot tell you how many leaders I've seen who will hire people. I mean, they're like, man, this guy's the best. They're the top of their class. They're amazing. We've seen what they've done. They get them in there and they go, oh, you can't do that. No, you can't do that. No, that's a bad idea. You can't do that. And they try to put them underneath their thumb. And I'm like, why did you hire them? You know, let them go and let them do their thing. So that's a big one for me, is to empower people. Also to be honest with them and with yourself. This is a story. This is not my story, but I'm going to share it. Again, I steal my husband's stories a lot. We hired a 19-year-old young man, and he was a family friend. We've known him forever. His mother and I went to college together, and excellent worker. And she came in, and something had gone wrong. And my husband had gotten a little emotional and said, this is not good, you know, kind of had a little blow up. And then he did this in front of 4 people. And then later that afternoon, he called the entire company together and said, I want you to know what I did. He said, I blew up on these guys. That was inappropriate, and I'm sorry. And it won't happen again. And so she's in my office telling me that her son came home and told her how amazing that was and what a big deal that was to him. And so I think having that transparency of, hey, I'm not perfect, And I make mistakes, and I'm apologizing for them. Not using it as an excuse to go, oh, I'm not perfect, don't expect me to be perfect so I can be a total jerk. No, using that as to say, no, really, and I'm sorry for what I did. So I think it's important to empower people. I think it's important to have humility, and to love people. I know that's not a very, businessy or manufacturing word, but really just to love humanity, to love people, because people want to work for someone who cares about them. There's the old adage, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care, and that's absolutely the truth in everything in life.
So, can you talk a little bit about innate leadership that you maybe possess or you think you possess? And the reason I ask this specifically is because your story about that can I just please work for someone else? And it was like not, it was like a friction there. So do you think that you've always been a leader?
I think I have. I was an only child for many, many years, and so there was no one, there was no one to lead me. It was just me. I just lived. And I remember one time we were talking about this and said, "Did you ever play house?" And I was like, "No, I played lawyer and I played business owner and judge, but I never played house." And so I think that a lot of it may be circumstance that you're raised in. Some of the oldest children are forced to be the leader. The only children, you just kind of are the leader because there's no one else. And so I don't know. I may have been. Here comes the sun. That's okay. I may have been born with the ability to kind of command. However, I had to work to be a leader. If that makes any sense.
So, what kind of advice do you have for young people who are extremely strong-willed, like you, and entering the workforce?
One of the things I would say is if you're extremely strong-willed, when you go into a job, look at it as training. If you're like, I'm going to be a business owner, I'm not going to work for someone else for my entire life, it's training. Don't go in going, I would do everything different, I would do this better, because that's what I did and I got fired twice. So if that doesn't work, just learn from my mistake. But go in and look at it as training. Say, this is me training on how to be a leader. I'm going to find out the good aspects of leaders, I'm going to find out some of the bad qualities, some of the qualities I don't want, and I'm going to find out how to be a good employee. Because if you can find out how to be a good employee, then you know how to hire good employees, and you can recognize good employees. I see people all the time who are amazing entrepreneurs, who are amazing leaders. They're horrible bosses because they were horrible employees. They hire people just like them, so they have these extremely rebellious employees, and then they can't figure out why their employees aren't doing what they want them to do. So that's what I would say is it's a learning experience. Absolutely everything is a learning experience. So use that. You could work, I would think, you guys probably won't remember this place either, but Gadzooks in the mall. It's kind of, you know that one? Thanks. Not that old. It's kind of like the hot topic of today, and even I learned customer service. I learned how to greet people, how to be kind to everyone. So everything, absolutely everything is training for when you have your business one day.
Awesome. Can you talk a little bit about your work with the foster care system?
Sure. I actually volunteered at a homeless shelter with the Union Rescue Mission for several years, and I noticed that the one thing that kept happening, just FYI, the Union Rescue Mission has a men's side and a women's side. The women's side is the Dorcas House with battered women and children, and the men's side is the Nehemiah House that has a homeless shelter and a 9-month rehab program. And so as I worked with these people, they kept saying, they've been through the foster care system, they've been through the foster care system. And so my husband and I decided we were going to foster. That's what we want to do. We wanted to foster kids that were maybe 16, 17, essentially the ones that no one else wanted. Once kids in the foster care system turn 13 years old, there is like a 0.5%, 0.5% chance that they'll be adopted. If they are a black male, once they turn 8, there's a 5% chance they'll be adopted. Once they turn 13, it is like 0.003%. And so we decided we were going to adopt older foster kids. And we were like, we're going to buy a home, we're going to put these kids in it, we're going to love them, it's going to be great, we're going to do all these great things. And then finally we're telling this to someone and they're like, have you ever heard of immerse? That's what they do. And we're like, oh, well, we're not going to reinvent the wheel, we're going to join up with someone who's already doing it. So we began to do that, and I see right now that I know Arkansas is working on it, and I will most definitely give credit to Asa Hutchinson, who is absolutely, it's been one of his standpoints. Is working on the foster care system, but right now it is pretty much a funnel from foster care to prison. When these kids are 18 years old, at 4 p.m. on their 18th birthday, they're homeless. They have to be out of place. So you're a foster child. You've never had anyone. And now you're 18 and they're like, you're an adult, go figure out the world on your own. And it's heartbreaking. These are kids, you know. So we just began to mentor and to work in this program. And through that, we've actually adopted our newest son. It's funny because we have two 19-year-olds and they'll say, oh, are they twins? And I'm like, no, one's black, one's white, you know. So we have our oldest, our newest, and our youngest. We have found so much joy working with these kids and giving them a job and giving them the opportunity and having a little bit of grace for them, which I am not a graceful person. I'll just be real honest. I'm like, you didn't show up, you're fired. Like, that's the real world. Go find another job. So it's tough on me because I'm like, okay, you didn't show up, we're going to give you another chance. You know, you didn't show up, okay, we're going to give you, you know, and a couple chances in, I'm like, listen, kid, at some point in time, you're going to have to learn this lesson. But it's been so enriching to us, not only because we see the difference in individual kids, I just see the difference in generations. You know, if we can help this one kid, then that kid, when he has children, helps them, and it helps them, and it just, you know, it changes the community. And so that's why it's important to me. These kids did not ask for the life that they have. And I just think that it's my responsibility as a human to come alongside them and try to help them.
I love it. Okay, one more question before I open it up to everyone. But I wonder this a lot when I talk to like extreme high achievers. Do you get to a point where you're like, okay, I'm totally fulfilled, I'm finished like being a high achiever, or is it like, okay, I've got to do something else, I'm only in my 30s and like, you know, do you feel fulfilled or what do you want to do next?
Yeah, I'm not fulfilled. You know, there are times, it's funny, when you ask that question, there was a time, and this is going to sound so, whatever, just pick a word, it's going to sound bad. I don't know how to make it sound not bad. We were on an island in Fiji, and my husband and I were like, we just don't deserve this life. Like, look at all that we've achieved, and we're not working hard enough. And so instead of being able to sit back and go, man, let me post some Instagram pics of Fiji, which I did. But, you know, we were like, we haven't worked hard enough. We got to work harder. I swear it was like we got off the plane in Little Rock, and everything just came crashing down. Business is still good, but we have never worked as hard since March when we got off that stupid plane from Fiji as we have now. I have never been like, I need a vacation, because I've always enjoyed what I've done. I've enjoyed everyone that's around me. And so we just worked extremely hard. So we have learned, one, never look a gift horse in the mouth. Never say, gee, I'm not working hard enough, ever again. I don't know. I don't know if there will ever be a time. You know, we used to go, oh, we want to retire by the time we're 50. And, you know, now we're like, I don't know. If we retire, we'll buy a resort, and then we'll run a resort, and then we'll buy little resorts. And so I don't know that there's just not. I don't know if it's me, if it's just, you know, high achievers, as you call us. I don't know. There's just this burning passion that I have to do more. And so I'm happy, but I'm not ready to, I'm not finished.
All right. Okay, we can open up for questions. So just raise your hand and we can just open Q&A.
Are you going to Women's Inspiration Luncheon in the fall? It's a program Ms. Hutchinson puts on for the CAC.
I'm not this one. I will not.
Yeah.
If you could go back and tell your 22-year-old something, what would you tell yourself?
Oh my gosh. I would say, stop having a crisis. I was just talking to someone about that. I remember being 22 and being like crying. Being like, what do I do with my life? And what, you know, I'm like, I'm 22. You know, I would probably say, take a deep breath. Like, it's going to be okay. You don't have to achieve everything by 25. You know, and even if you're a millionaire at 25, that's not enough to retire. So I would probably tell myself just to chill out a little bit, honestly. And I would say, stop being so dang bossy and you won't keep getting fired. Because the first time I got fired, I was 25. And so, yeah, I would definitely tell myself to just, you know, enjoy it. Be a little
Quit eating Taco Bell at 3 p.m. I would tell myself that. And I would say, or at 3 a.m., not 3 p.m. And I would say, it'll come. Just chill out a little bit, it'll come. That's what I would say.
What do you think about the next wave of like social businesses, like Tacos for Life, something similar to what you're doing, like Wilbur Hope mentioned it to your husband, James Love. It's very similar to Immerse down in the Rock here in Conway.
Okay, and what is the one you said?
Tacos for Life, or Wilbur Hope.
Denver Hope?
Deliver Hope.
Deliver Hope. Okay,
Yeah,
I just
so
want to make sure that we get a good plug on the mic for Deliver Hope.
Yes.
Okay.
But one of the things I'm working on is partnering up with Phil Fletcher. I'm going to be opening up some more music venues here in Conway, partnering with Gamify and a couple other places. But our basic tagline is going to be your night out with someone else's night in. And so essentially come out, have fun in a bar in Conway instead of having to drive to Little Rock. And then in turn that provides a place for someone to stay. What do you think, like, those models, like, because more and more places are, plugging what they're doing for the community. There's very few of them that I think that are actually doing it because they want to, they're seeing the marketing stuff, but what do you think about that trend?
It's funny, a couple of years ago when it kind of became the new trend, someone tagged me, because now they have, I think it's called Certified B, which is like a certified social, activist venture, or, what they want to call it, and they're like, oh, this reminds me of you, and I would say that in doing something, you have to decide, is your main purpose to be a nonprofit, or is your main purpose to be for-profit? And if it's to be for-profit, you need to run it like a profit. Because if you don't run it like a for-profit business, you will go out of business and you will help no one, and then you will be in debt. And so that is the one thing that I would say, moving forward, that trend, if I could give advice. But I think that we have such a desire as humans to connect, and there are so many things that try to disconnect us. I think that's why that's become such a thing, that everyone, they want to do good, they just don't know how. And so they're like, well, if I buy this pink bracelet, or if I go out to this club instead of this one, then I'm going to be helping someone. So I just think innately we want to do good. I do think, I think the fail to that is when people don't run it like a business, and then they end up failing, and then when they start, they think, we're not going to run this like a business because that's not our mission, And then when they fail, they don't realize that that really hurts other missions, as opposed to getting it running like a business, putting people in, giving them jobs, putting them in business for themselves. So I think it's a great thing. I hope that it's not a fad. It's been around in some ways for years. People have been, buy this and we'll donate 10% to this charity or whatever. But I do think that if they're not ran like businesses, that it's ultimately going to do more harm than good. And I love Phil Fletcher. Matter of fact, he gave us an award. Yeah.
Other questions?
What would you say was your biggest challenge as an entrepreneur, and how have you overcame it?
Aside from being a woman in manufacturing, finances. We all want to start a business and nobody has any money. And so I will say that knowing what Jeff Sanders does, angel investors, that did not exist 12 years ago. There were not angel investors. We were very, very lucky that we had sold, our property and had a bunch of money and were able to invest. I tell you, that money went fast. And then we did have a guy who came alongside us and said, I'll invest in you. He gave us $30,000. We paid $338 a month in interest for 18 months, and then had to hand him a check for $30,000. So it came at a cost, but financing has been the biggest thing. And so I would say overcoming it is you gotta be cheap. I mean, now it's a little bit better. There's accelerators, there's different things that you can go to and get some financing. I kind of came in between that. I remember I listened to Mr. Harding's, and he said he went to a bank and someone gave him a loan for $365 or whatever. So, and then now you have angel investors. And so we started our business kind of in between, where a bank was not going to give you money unless you had already manufactured it, sent it out, and you already had money coming back in. And then there were no angel investors really out there. So we were thrifty as all get out. We bought all of our office furniture from the state surplus place. don't know if you guys have heard about this, but the state, like when the college, when it gets rid of its desk, it goes and it ships them off to this warehouse, and we bought them for $10. So we were extremely thrifty, and we looked for free money everywhere we could. I saved every penny that we could. There's a joke still in our company about cheap toilet paper and how they're so grateful that we're doing well now because there's good toilet paper, and they'll know things are going to get bad if we go back to cheap toilet paper. But I mean, really, financing was probably the hardest part of being an entrepreneur, and finding that money. I mean, you've got to work for it. You know, it's just not out there. You know, and no one is going to give you money if you can't show that you're good with what you got now. You know, you've got to go. I mean, and some people, maybe have the opportunity to say, hey, here's my personal finances, and because that's what an entrepreneur is. You're using your personal finances to start. And so you're like, here's what I've saved. Here's what I've invested in myself. Here's my balance sheet. Here's where I'm saving every single penny I can to put it into my product. So, I mean, I would suggest that because, I mean, be as thrifty as you possibly can because money is the biggest challenge for entrepreneurs, startup owners.
Thank you.
Hey, Gina. So, as you look back from now, back across your entire career, what's been your greatest regret?
I once, and that's really easy, I once had an employee who quit because I worked him too hard. And that was, I always say, he really changed the way that I led because he came in and he was very upfront. He said, this is what I do, this is not who I am. And when you're an entrepreneur, this is who you are. You know, I mean, it's who you are. And there was a time, and I remember he was on speakerphone and my secretary called and she's like, he has to leave. And I'm like, of course he is. And she was like, you're on speakerphone. And I'm like, I know. You know, and I did not care for him as a whole person. I expected him to stay and put as much passion into it as I did. And so that was my biggest regret. And I remember, and he gave 2 weeks and we left on good terms. And I still, to this day, I will tell him, you are the best employee I ever lost. And you really, it really taught me a lot. And so that was probably my biggest regret, is not, in the beginning, getting too caught up in being afraid to lose. And that's really the root cause, is getting too caught up in being afraid to lose everything. That I mistreated.
How would you parlay that back around into advice to yourself 15 years ago?
That would be the chill out. I'd be like, chill out. It's going to be fun. You know. Now we call it, we say even if. And we say even if we're in a van down by the river, even if, you know, we're going to run our business with integrity, my husband and I are going to love each other and our children, we're going to have a good marriage, we're going to be good parents, and we're going to love those around us, even if we end up in a van down by the river. You know, that we're not, if we lose everything, we're still going to be who we are.
Okay, we end all, no, yeah.
We have I'm just teasing.
Looking through your whole career, what was your largest moment of accomplishment as a small business owner?
When my 13-year-old son was born, absolutely.
See, every time you try to love me when there's people around.
I know. See, this guy's good. Now, probably, gosh, you know, meeting Mark Cuban was pretty awesome, and winning that award was really awesome. There's been a lot. I think looking out and seeing a full parking lot, knowing that we gave every single person that represented one of those cars a job, that's been a really, it felt like a good accomplishment. And so there's been a lot of little ones. I don't know. I mean, we could say, yeah, the biggest one is, when we won Small Business of the Year and, got to go to DC and meet Mark Cuban and all that. But I think it's been the little ones that have all added up about seeing people change, seeing their lives change, which I know, again, manufacturing, but we had 2 resignation letters come in recently. They broke our hearts, but they were both leaving to start their own businesses, And I tell my husband, stop being so freaking inspiring. Stop inspiring people so much. But what one of them said was, he said, I've been through some of the darkest times, and I've asked if I could share this. And it says, I've been through some of the darkest times in my life. It's in the past 2 years that I've been here, and I have no doubt they would have been much darker had I not had my GSI family. People don't write that in a resignation letter. So It's the little things that kind of add up to the big things.
Awesome.
Can I ask one?
Yeah. You can both ask questions. You can, yeah.
I'll let you go first.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, you mentioned this earlier that you use Google a lot. I would also like to know if there is like any book that you use to learn about stuff and like a kind of your favorite book or maybe life-changing book that you read, and if you can recommend it to us.
In as far as manufacturing or business development
Business
or
development and
business-
or maybe a book, like your favorite book.
Oh, my favorite book. Oh gosh, there's so many. From Good to Great. It's an older book. It's really, really good. And then on leadership, there's one called Leading with a Limp. That is really amazing. And man, I read a lot. Well, I don't read. That's a lie. I audible a lot. The other one, you know, and I should be prepared. Like people ask me this question, right? And I should know. But then I read something else. I'm like, this is so good. Outliers is a really, really good one. Are you familiar with Outliers?
No.
I would I think what I loved about Outliers is it gave me, because it looks at all these people who've been super achievers, and it gave me the idea that, you know what, the reason they are is because of all these things. And it's not just because they were born this way, and if you're not born this way, you're not an outlier, sorry. And I would say Outliers is probably a really, really good book. It just, for me, it just kind of gave me the inspiration to be better and better and do better and better.
Thank you.
He asked my question, so.
Oh, okay, yeah. Outlier and Emotional Intelligence by the same guy. It's very, very, very good for leadership.
Okay, so we end all startup grants the same way, which is by asking you what's one piece of business advice you would leave us with.
Oh, I gave it in the beginning. I would say hire people smarter than you. And be, let's see, entrepreneurs, be thrifty. Don't think you've got to go and spend a bunch of money. Choose the right audience to spend money on. And so be very, prioritize your time and money. How about that?
Perfect.
There.
Well, thank you so much, Gina. Super inspirational. You're an inspirational woman. Thank you again to the team. If you have any questions about the conductor or startup grind, ask us later. And let's give it up for Gina.